So remember what we said we're going to have to be careful of when we divide functions? Domain, right? Domain. So let's rewrite it first. This is f of x divided by g of x. And then, like we've done in every problem so far, let's replace f of x and g of x with what they equal. The square root of x divided by the square root of 4 minus x squared. Right? And there's no simplifying you can do there. That is f of x divided by g of x. Now, the question is, how are we going to find the domain of that? We definitely have the issue of dividing by something that could equal 0. We also have square roots, which could be square roots of negative numbers. So we're going to have to check both of these here, both the numerator and the denominator. What's the domain of the square root of x? Just plain old square root of x. All real numbers? Can you plug in negative number for us? It would be x is greater than or equal to 0, right? That's generally what we expect for a square root. Can't be negative. It can be everything else. Okay. So the same thing goes here. The 4 minus x squared, we usually take that out and say that has to be greater than or equal to 0. It's just that in this case, because it's in the denominator, we cannot let it equal 0, right? Greater than 0, just not 0 itself. So we have to just say greater than 0. Because if it equaled 0, you'd be dividing by 0. So now we've got to say, well, how can I determine when that is true? And this is where we go back to, this is a polynomial inequality. We need to factor it. 2 plus x times 2 minus x greater than 0. What are the critical values? Negative 2 and 2. So we're going to put negative 2 and 2, and then we're going to figure out which interval there is it actually greater than 0. Test of value, probably 0, because it's right in the middle of this interval. 4 minus 0 is 4, right? That's greater than 0. So we know it is greater than 0 there, in between negative 2 and 2. So if I was just doing this, I would say open circle, shade in the middle, right? However, we already said for the numerator purposes, x has to be greater than or equal to 0, right? We cannot let x be less than 0, or else the numerator would be undefined. So we have to come back, we have to put both of these together, right? This and this, which gives us a closed circle on 0 and shaded to 2, open circle on 2. Backtrack. What's that? It is for the denominator. But if x is less than 0, then the numerator is undefined. You got to take into account both of them. So this is what satisfies the denominator. This is what satisfies the numerator. You got to put those together. It could only be something that satisfies both of those that would satisfy our whole fraction. So actually, the domain of this thing, using the brackets, would be 0 on the left, including 0, and 2 on the right, not including 2.